The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. Sleepy Hollow is the quietest place in the world. Besides being haunted, nothing much happened there until the night of the Van Tassel party. Skinny old Ichabod Crane marched into the party with his head held high, resembling a scarecrow deserved in fancy clothes. He was at the party for one reason: Katrina Van Tassel. The stunning Katrina stood out at the party like a red rose on a snow day. She chatted with a brown Bones, who was as massive as the bull and as mean as the bear. He enjoyed riding around on his horse, dreaded evil, and causing mischief from Bones, also like Katrina. Ichabod mustered his resolve and went straight up to them. "Excuse me, Katrina," Ichabod said. "Will you care to dance?" Brown Bones' face turned as red as a boiled lobster. "I love to dance," Katrina said, as she grabbed Ichabod's hand. Ichabod and Katrina twirled around the dance floor as if there are no tomorrow. Ichabod imagined he could dance his way right into Katrina's heart. Stranger things have happened. It's not that she didn't like him. She liked him fine, but the beautiful girl must weigh her options. The longer they danced, the angrier Brown Bones became. When the band took a break, Ichabod and Katrina stopped for a drink at the Pound Bowl. They toured Brown Bones, sharing ghost stories with a group of friends. "I tell you the scariest ghost story of all," boasted Brown Bones. He stared directly at Ichabod. "Have you ever heard of the Headless Horseman?" "No," Ichabod muttered and gulped. Brown Bones began to whisper and the group leaned in closer. Every night at midnight, he rode through town on his horse, looking for his missing head. Brown said, "I've seen him with my very own eyes. I was riding along late at night when his fellow came trotting up. I asked him if he wanted a race. He didn't say a word because he didn't have a head." So I took off on Daredevil, Brown bellowed, and he came tearing up behind me. I raced him right up to a church bridge. Once his horse set foot on the bridge, he disappeared in a flash of fire. The audience stood in tense silence. "If you ever see the Headless Horseman," Brown Bones said, "head to the other side of the church bridge. Otherwise, you are done for. Of course, if you are as fast as me, you have nothing to worry about." That was really brave, Katrina found. Her eyes shined like jewels in candlelight as he gazed up at the massive Brown Bones. Ichabod took one look at Katrina and granted a great imaginary story. He grabbed Katrina's hand and quickly pulled her toward the dance floor. They danced to a few more songs, but the Brown Bones story was stuck in Ichabod's head. Just before midnight, Ichabod said farewell to Katrina and promised to visit her soon. Then he climbed on his sad old plow horse, which was almost as skinny as Ichabod himself, and set up home. The wind whistled through the branches. An owl shrieked. The handless horseman filled Ichabod's mind. He attempted to sing to keep himself brief, but his voice caught in the throat. Then he heard another sound coming up behind him. A horse. The horse and the rider trotted up next to Ichabod, but it was too dark to see them. Good evening, Ichabod said. The rider said nothing. Up ahead, Ichabod could make out the church bridge. He started to ride a little faster. The rider matched his pace. This is strange fog. We are having, Ichabod said, trying to make conservation. Again, the rider said nothing. The moon slid out from behind a cloud. Ichabod looked over at the rider and froze. The rider had no head. In his hand, the rider held a huge pumpkin that seemed to glow in the moonlight. He raised it up high above, where his head should have been, as it burst into flames. Ichabod screamed and kicked the sides of his horse. The horse barely sped up. The safety of the church bridge waited up ahead. Faster! Ichabod yelled to his old plow horse. Almost there. The rider was close, but then Ichabod bared his horse's hooves stomped on the wooden bridge. He sighed with relief. I made it! Ichabod screamed. He heard the rider's horse behind him. He turned to look from the safety of the bridge. A flash of flame rushed toward him, and all went dark. The next morning, a schoolboy discovered Ichabod's horse gazing in a field by the church. On the ground next to the old bridge, he found Ichabod. That's the scorched pumpkin. Ichabod himself and disappeared. Not long after, Ichabod vanished from Sleepy Hollow. Brown Bones married Katrina. When folks told the stories about Ichabod Crane, Brown Bones would always smile. Some said Brown Bones drove Ichabod away. Those who knew about such things swore the handless horseman had taken him on a dark night